So hi, welcome to PJ and the Beard, 19 Conversations. This is conversation number 20. Because the 19 Conversations was never really about number 20.
Right.
How many we were going to do, rather, what's going on. So
Yeah, we've talked about just changing the name to an hour of distraction, but either way.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is kind of the name.
Yeah. Right.
When I sat down to do all the, it was easier to keep it there. Yep. So, if you're in the chat, if you're here, definitely say hi. It's just the two of us today. We're working on some guests for this week. We can tell you right now that we know we have, right? That's confirmed, right?
Yep.
Otherwise, he's going to think I'm mental for sending him all the information on how to do it.
Yeah, he's good.
Sebastian Flavo. That's how you say his last name?
Falvo, Falbo.
Yeah, he'll be with us on Thursday.
Fantastic player. We came across him in our love pedal journey. We can't wait to meet him virtually on Thursday and thank him for the hundreds of dollars we've spent because of him and his gold Les Paul.
Right. Because he can make any pedal sound great. So in honor of him coming on and in the rabbit holes he's let us down, for pedal of the day today, I grabbed two off the wall that have not, well, hey, Pete Hickson, how you doing? I grabbed two off the wall. One, I think we did do an episode on, and that was this one, which is the Pickle Vibe,
right.
Which is the love pedal. And then also a love pedal that I don't think has ever been on the show is the Vibronaut. And I'm pretty sure Sebastian is responsible for me picking that up. So both are vibe pedals. Obviously, one has a little more control over than the other one. But both are good vibe pedals. The Pickle Vibe I really like just because it's so small. And when we did that, it sounded really good. You can get it sound pretty good. I think there is an internal trim pot on that one, too, for depth. But on the top, it's just speed. And then, this one has a little bit more to it. Speed, wobble, tone, volume.
Doesn't the Vibronaut have some kind of external switch with it as well? Something?
No.
I just feel like maybe it's on your shelf next to it, but I always wonder.
You're thinking of the Dry Bell.
All right, yep.
The Dry Bell Vibe machine.
Yeah.
There's a couple Uni-Vibe type pedals that are here. And that's one thing we've never got into, really. Uh-oh. I'm still ordering 20 of them. So.
Yeah, we don't know what we're going to modulate to next. We know we've got a pile of tremolos, and depending how this week goes, maybe we'll line them up and tease that one out a little bit, but lots of them.
Lots of tremolo pedals coming out. Pete said he's doing good. He hopes that we're well. Yeah, we're well, man. We're doing good.
Super windy again here today, and I'm hoping the howling wind doesn't give us the problem that Brian Landreth was saying that he might have
right
out of power.
I was just going to say shout out to him because it looks like in that picture he put on the feed for Facebook anyway. He posted a picture of there's a tower kind of up close and way in the distance. There's a whole row of them. And there's a gap between those two. And I'm getting the feeling that means that a couple towers were taken out or something.
Those towers are social distancing from each other now.
Right. He said a couple days without electricity. I can't imagine.
He sent me a video of a tornado last week. So I used to live in Oklahoma in that Midwestish area. It was a little cuckoo.
Right. So, what else we got going on today? You said about maybe doing. We did the clip of the day, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Clip of the day. I think we kind of joked somewhere along the line of these that sometimes a guitar player plays and you feel more like a guitar owner than a guitar player, and that's how I feel about a lot of people that have influenced my playing. That I cannot necessarily cop what they're doing, in part because A, I'm lazy, B, because they're that good. And so the clip we have today, and sometimes it's an unknown guitarist and, sort of coming out of the Christian world, if you will. I'm very familiar with this guitarist, but a lot of people might not be. So we have Phil Keggy here, and this is actually back from, early 80s probably. He's still around, lives in Nashville. still putting some stuff out. Really super nice human being. And when you're watching this video, just take a peek at his right hand, and it'll look like one of Jason's influences. So here's Phil Keggy. Here's Phil Keggy. Yeah, let that run for just a second, real quick, because let that run, and I'm going to step off the frame for 1 second. I could talk all day about him. He was the first person I ever heard do volume swells with his, right hand, which Jason has done when he and I played live. I don't think he's really demonstrated any of that on the show, which I'd never seen that before. And then the other thing and this is a different version of it, but he is playing an EBow in that last part. And that was probably an early one, the silver one, that doesn't have the off and on switch like this one does. It's pretty wild, and I just realized because I was not planning on showing it today. I don't have a battery in it, but the concept is there's these two rails right here, and here, that say you're playing on the B string, your G string and your E string would be in these rails, and whatever string is in this gap that I'm probably demonstrating really horribly, whatever string is in this gap is the string that it creates a magnetic force between the pickups and this, and it's like a bow. It's an electric bow, an EBow. So really interesting effect. You put long delay on that and some overdrive and the original swells kind of like this. But he's a master at playing this because you could do one string at a time. You could rub it like this and get like single notes coming out. You can bounce it on the strings for like a staccato attack. It's amazing what he did with this. So anyway, that was a total bonus. Jason didn't even know I was going to do that, but I forgot that he did that at the end of that part. So there you go. Well, I lost you again. I lost you. You still have your mic muted from running the video by chance?
I did.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Oh, good. I didn't want to bounce in and bounce out again. Sorry.
Brody Hutchins is in. Zach Fong's in. Hey, guys. Magic Matt. So I got a couple people joining us today. That's awesome. First time I ever heard of Phil Keggy was from a student. Years ago. Student knew I was into guitar and stuff, and he came in with a CD, a Phil Keggy CD, and he's like, "You gotta listen to this guy. If you like Jimi Hendrix and people like that, he was convinced that I would like Phil Keggy."
Well, the funny thing about Phil Keggy is like the middle part of his career, the last third of his career. I say last is not over. Like I said, he's still very much alive. But he really got known for his acoustic playing. He is an unbelievable acoustic player too, and does some of the Michael Hedges like Dadgad hammer on stuff. But he is a master at looping, and he went out on tours for a while by himself and just did acoustic guitar with loopers and would like sing into the sound hole and scratch the strings to get tracks and just would loop and play amazing stuff on acoustic. And he has some beautiful Olsen acoustic guitars. And so a lot of people will be like, oh, I know him as an acoustic player. So you kind of go back where I took you guys today. That was sort of in the heyday of his electric guitar playing. And just one other little aside, everybody, when you go to like some concert, they're screaming Freebird, right? Well, that song he was playing is called Time. And that was sort of his Freebird, right? Because extended jamming and stuff. So every concert, people are just screaming the word time, like, they were at a Skinner show screaming Freebird. But yeah, and he sings, like Brody said, he sings great, like heavily influenced by like Paul McCartney. pictures of he and Paul McCartney together at times. So anyway, I could go on all day about Phil Keaggy. Unbelievable player. Had the pleasure of sharing space with him a number of times. Just a consummate gentleman. Can't say enough good things about him. So
awesome. You know, as I was thinking about what we're going to talk about today, I ran across another YouTube clip yesterday, I think it was, and I thought maybe I would share. I hadn't even talked to Pat about this, but I thought I would share just a clip from it. Brad Miller just jumped in. Hey, Brad. And just thinking, I thought it'd be an interesting conversation starter, maybe to get some comments down here in the chat and stuff about what people think. And so Pat has no idea what's coming.
I'm like absent a guest, bonus track time. So here we go.
He has no idea what's coming. So this is a conversation I ran into yesterday where, let's see, Charlie Starr, who's the guitar player for Blackberry Smoke. So Blackberry Smoke is one of Chris Delaporta's favorite bands,
right?
Is actually visiting the Songbirds Museum, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Chattanooga. Right,
and I can't play the whole clip, so you have to go watch the whole clip on your own. But while he's there, this little clip that I have here is about 6 minutes. I'm only going to show about 10 seconds of it. But while he's there, they go, well, you need to give that really nice Les Paul you're playing back. We have another guitar for you, and they hand him Duane Allman's SG, and so then he gets into playing. Of course, if somebody handed you Duane Allman's SG.
Right.
I mean, even if it was the worst playing guitar you ever picked up, you would be like, holy cow, I'm playing Duane Allman's SG.
Right.
Then he says this, and Pat and I've talked about this a good bit. Brody says him playing the 59 burst. I think that's what he had before the SG.
There is another clip of that. Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
So they hand him this. He plays it for a little bit, and then he starts saying this. I thought this was an interesting. I thought this would be interesting. So let me grab that real quick. All right. So here's what he says.
Talking to a buddy the other day about those iconic solos that we loved so much from the Fillmore East record, and they never played them that way again.
Yeah.
Ever. No. Every night was different. And that's what we know, you watch cover bands that play those solos note for note. Hell, all of us. And it's like, the next night was completely different. He emoted. Instead of being a guy that would play as many notes as humanly possible, and he was just a great example of that old idea, that one note, like that one note in the but he hold on that record, he holds it and it feeds back and it's perfect.
So there he is playing Duane Allman's SG through a Dumble. I mean, life is rough.
Yeah.
So here's what I was thinking when I saw that. Like this kind of, it's not offend anybody, but it kind of transcends, I think, all genres even. If you're playing like in a rock cover band, or if you're playing in maybe not all genres, but if you're playing in a rock cover band, or you're playing in contemporary Christian worship band or something like that, there's a lot of pressure to play songs note for note.
Right.
Unless
you play for me.
What's that?
Unless you play for me or with me.
I mean, a lot of times there's a lot of pressure for that. Whether it's from the audience, from other band members, from other people that you're sharing the stage with, from for whatever reason, there seems to be and I get that there's times, like if you're doing, I guess I'm wondering how many people feel that pressure or do that.
Right.
So if you're playing in like our friend Hack that was on the show last week plays in a cover band that goes out, and they're a party band, right? They go out, they play, they do a whole bunch of really popular songs. They want to keep people up dancing all night. That seems like a good place to be copying note for note. Another friend of mine took me to see a Led Zeppelin cover band. Who was it?
Get the Lead Out. Get the Lead Out. Yeah.
So, and I'm sure he's taking you to see that band too, right?
I did get to go courtesy of our friend Gary. Yes.
So go to see Get the Let Out. And I mean, these guys are great. They can nail. I mean, they nail every aspect of that song. But for me, there was a certain level of almost disappointment because they played the record. Right? And if you went and saw Led Zeppelin, you wouldn't hear the record. You know what I mean? They don't play those things note for note.
Right.
Same with the Allman Brothers, same with that, you know. And then I was thinking, when I said every genre, then I was like, well, maybe not every genre. Well, like I'm thinking about blues bands. Blues bands never try and copy note for note unless you're, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan cover band or something like that. Typically, a blues band wouldn't try to cover note for note. So I feel like the band that I was in for a long time, we did blues and some rock and some jam band stuff, but there was never this need to like cover something note for note, play somebody solo, or even play the song in really the same way the original was done. So I know where I'm going with that, but I thought it was an interesting question to see how people feel about that. Like, do they feel you have to do that, or is it all right to go out on a on a limb? I think another good example, I think, is two players. I know I'm rambling. It's like you with Phil Keaggy, right? I'm going on and on. Two players, I think, are good examples of the other thing. John Mayer, and I know there's John Mayer lovers out there. John Mayer and Warren Haynes. So, and I picked those two guys because John Mayer right now is touring with, well, as much as people are touring right now, touring with Dead and Company. And so kind of taking that role of Jerry Garcia. And Warren Haynes for years toured with toured with the Allman Brothers. And I don't think Warren ever played like Dwayne Allman or Dickie Betts solos note for note. I don't think John Mayer's ever played a Jerry Garcia solo note for note, but both of those guys were really, really good at like what's the phrase, like tipping their hat to them.
Yeah, like a wink and a nod, or
right, like grabbing certain things that need to be there,
right,
embellishing on other things, and then playing within the vein of the song.
Yeah. So a couple of the people I think chimed in when we were chatting there. Za is in. There was a new name that I didn't recognize, but sorry, try to scroll back up. Where'd he go? Magic Matt jumped in, and I've seen that name before. But then Zach Thong, I'm not sure. It could be me. I could be bad because Jason's usually the one looking more intently at the comments, but welcome into that. Brody's comment to your kind of unofficial poll question is kind of like depends on what serves the song, right? And I guess I can give you my answer to the question. You know, if I'm going to go see the Eagles, which I did, and I saw them on the Hell Freezes Over tour, and they opened with Hotel California, I was like, what just happened? You know, the spotlight comes on, and there's Don Felder with the double neck sitting in the middle of the stage, and the stadium just went cuckoo. So, like, you know, if you're going to hear, like, Hotel California that's got those, like, you know, dual leads between he and Joe Walsh, there's certain things that you're looking for, right? But I love it when a band, maybe if there's a note-for-note solo, they do it in the middle, but then when they do the outro, they take some liberties there. Like, I could go either way. Like, some solos are so iconic that you kind of want to hear them. And other things you just like the feel, the flow, and the genre of the song. That's my particular answer to that. But so you got Pete's question highlighted there.
Yeah.
Or comment.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's if you don't like it, just get on out. Well, and then so let's go down to what Brody said too. Depends on what serves the song, because that was like that's always been a thing that I've heard a lot. You know, so whether we're talking blues, so I'm out learning from the old blues guys when I was learning to play guitar, and they talked a lot about serving the song. You know, like how what you're playing behind the person singer is telling the story, they would say. And then when you get into the worship space, Pat has no idea what I'm talking about.
I was so twisted up. The mic cable kept hitting my second and third chin. I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. In the worship space, then, I mean, there's people that get really, like, like, they're talking about, like, playing the right lead, note for note, having
pedal for pedal, pickup
right.
for pickup.
You got to have this delay with this amount of time on the delay and this reverb, it gets way, way down into the weeds. And so, yeah, I don't know. I guess I hear people say, and I know Brody's not doing this. But I hear people say, serving the song, right? Like, you need to play that. We'll just stick with the worship thing for a second. You need to play that note for note exactly the way that was written, with the same delays, with the same effects, or you're not serving the song. And to that, I would cry BS, because I'm like,
You can't say that in church. Well, you can abbreviate it in church if you want. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, really, first of all, like, how many people know that?
Right.
Who you're playing to? And music is intended to move people, so I guess it doesn't even matter what genre we're talking about right now. Like, I don't think that's what moves people.
Yeah, and since we're on this this trail, if you will, it is pretty it is pretty interesting, because we're going to talk about the church experience, but it could be the same thing as a cover band, right? So we're just not going to. It's the day after Easter, so oblige us a little bit. But like, sometimes we had some friends come over. Our friend Esty, who is featured on an episode of ours, fantastic player, can great improvise, but he also learned a lot of little hooks, a lot of little turnarounds, note for note, and did have the right stuff. He's the first person I heard Shimmer from. We've talked a little bit about that before. Had another player that came over with us. Our friend Ryan would come over and play. And, for the other people in our church band, if you will, when they would play, because Jason and I I'm always like palm muting, kind of driving the song. Jason's trying to find some textures, maybe play a Leslie, like we were talking about how you can lose Leslie in a church service on a guitar. But when those guys would play those little hooks, I could catch like the couple singers in the middle just kind of turning around like, oh yeah, that's right. That sounds familiar. That sounds good. But here's my contention. My contention on that is, if you want to go to Nigel Hendroff, who plays for Hillsong, one of the big Christian worship guitar players, Nigel had to make that up in the studio, right? Or maybe the producer hummed it to him. Maybe he came up with his own part. Nigel has played that thing 500 times. Do you think Nigel would rather probably stick a knife in his eye than play that hook one more time, right? So sometimes it's like, okay, this is the flavor of the song. Give me something there, like emote, express yourself. But to play the note for note in a lot of songs, I don't personally see the point. But there you go. There's my soapbox.
Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting to hear him. Sometimes I wonder, like, if Jimmy Page could learn his solos as well as most of the people that have learned his solos.
He'd probably be like, man, I probably should have tuned a little better, maybe not been so sloppy.
Right. Yeah, Brody, that's exactly what I figured you meant too, right? Like, and I know that's what it means to you, but that's not what it means to some people that use that phrase.
Yeah, just pop that up there for the people who are maybe watching the playback, if you don't mind. Right. Yeah, no, a lot of times serve the song is used, in the situations I've been in before, maybe not in the church world, but just in general, serve the song might be like, kind of stay in your lane a little bit, right? Don't overplay. It doesn't necessarily mean play this thing particular. Sometimes it's like, all right, you'll get your chance to unwind here in the outro. Just, this is the third verse. It's the quiet verse, Summer Donna. Like, so sometimes serving the song is just kind of knowing where you are in the song, knowing who else is playing what going on at that moment. Because there's nothing that worship bands do better than overplay. Everybody plays it all out all the time. So sometimes I understand the point of going to the arrangement because it does pare it down.
It's any genre. Sure. If you really think about it, it's any genre. It doesn't matter if you're playing blues, jazz, rock, country, whatever. There's, right. It all comes back to using music to move people and, using dynamics within music. The best bands in the world are some of the bands that are really, really super dynamic. If you want a lesson in dynamics, you go watch Buddy Guy, right? Like he knows how, like Buddy Guy is the master of using dynamics to draw people in and to move people with that. So, I don't think it really, anyway, rabbit hole. There was the rabbit hole for today, but I thought it was interesting. And that little interview with him is great. Him ripping on that guitar with the dumbbells. Yeah, come on. It's worth going out and checking out.
Yeah, I think we may have I've been to Songbirds. It's a great place. I did not go backstage. It's a separate part of the tour. The day I was there with my wife was sort of a little bit of an impromptu, unbelievable place. If you're anywhere near Chattanooga, or just go watch their videos, their collection of guitars there is staggering. And there's a handful of the celebrity-owned ones, but mostly it's like, here is the first, sand-colored Stratocaster. Here's the prototype. Like they're amazing collection.
Well, you can just look here.
Yeah.
On the wall.
And that's back in the vault back there. But even the main floor is just crazy. And we have a friend that is friends with Irv Benner, who might be the curator, the manager. And it's been talked about that if we ever get down that way, we could get our little secret double handshake tour. So Corona, go away quickly.
There's 2 more comments on. We'll put that to bed. But Brody said it's harder to decide what notes not to play that create space rather than fill it up with nonsense. And right along with that, Pete said, solos always has to fit the song, serve the song, or it's just guitar wanking, right? Yeah. And there is a time and place for that. There is a time and place to just go. But if you're not, it's funny because you can. I don't want to get out of the weeds, but if you're playing in that kind of guitar wankery zone, and you have a rhythm section that is just keeping the beat. I mean, they're locked in. They're keeping the beat. It's good. You're not. It sounds like guitar wanker. But if you have a rhythm section that's listening to you and you're listening to them and you're playing off each other and things are happening and there's dynamics and there's hits that are happening, that's like the best thing ever. And then that all of a sudden becomes, I think, a little bit more musical. And so you always want to play with a drummer and a bass player that are better than you are.
I've been in that situation a couple times. It's pretty magical.
Yeah. That's what you want.
Well, then you become the one-note wonder, right? You play like 3 notes and you're a genius.
Right. Because if you play a little repeating pattern, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and they play that with you.
Right.
Like if they're just doing 4/4 behind you, 2 and 4 on the snare, and you're going da-da-da-da-da over and over, it doesn't sound all that impressive. But if they're hitting those hits with you,
right, then
it sounds really impressive.
Yeah, Pete's like 80s hair metal. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of fun in the gratuitous guitar playing in hair metal sometimes. That's where all the gymnastics come out and the pyrotechnics and the hairspray and the spandex. I feel I've said too much.
I don't want to know. I don't want you to go bust open your. I don't want to. Next thing we know, Power run off camera and come back in with his leather pants and.
That's right. Whew. I need Crisco and a spatula for that, so no chance of seeing that.
So you, since we knew we didn't have a guest on today, you grabbed you thought maybe a guitar, like where you're spending your time. So here's the question for you. What guitar are you spending time with while social distancing?
Yeah, who's your quarantine buddy? And I have, we've discussed a little bit, I have a little bit limited guitars here because a lot of my guitars are at the church. But this is my 1975, pardon the capo, it's a tool, not a crutch, 1975 D35 shade top. Martin likes to call it shade tops. It's rosewood back and sides. 3-piece back, which is one of the things that draws me to D35s. And again, the shade top, it's got its share of battle scars on it. You can see they're in the brown of the shade towards the outside, and the worst offender being right here. It wasn't me. I know the 2 previous owners, and somebody I think had it. You know how you made that really bad habit of like you put your guitar in the case, but it's not totally in the case, and then the lid falls down, and then the hinge hits your guitar. That's what happened there. Interesting. The second, no, I'll take it back. The first owner of this guitar, I'm going to give you a minute to wrap your head around this, is a Episcopal priest that was a guitar performance major at Catholic University, but yet he and his brother, who also in the priesthood, opened for Alice Cooper. I'll give you a minute. But the reason I even bring him up was because I think he had the radius pretty flattened on this guitar to be more like a classical feel. So when the next person that bought it from him didn't do anything with that, and then I was able to get it as a generous gift from my parents at a ridiculous price. But the first thing I did was had it taken somewhere to just have it done. So it got refretted and had to have the radius restored in the neck, and then also had to kind of like shave down the bridge here and the sound, replace things here, because you can't add, you can only take away. So to restore that radius, there it is. So it's wonderful. It's not going to do any great, I haven't capoed because I was just banging away on some songs. I did a little thing for Easter, but yeah, I see David Barber. This probably sounds horrible, but I'm going to play it anyway. It's a lovely warm tone. Again, it's more of an accompaniment guitar because of the 3-piece back. All of the D28s and 18s were more of the bluegrass, like players, singer-songwriter kind of deal. But that is my gem. I have another Martin that maybe on another show we'll talk about that. But what did David Barber say? Battle Scars, I would allow you to relax and play it before the constant where it's like people say you can't take food in their car and then someone spills a drink and then it's game on, right? Like after that, eat your fries out of the cup holder. I don't care. So that's what I've been spending time in quarantine. I did because we, certainly nobody could go and gather in a corporate setting yesterday. Kind of banged out an Easter song on that, and have sent a couple audio clips to a couple friends of things that, while I had it out and kind of sometimes I find that capos inspire me a little bit because it sounds different. So I have it. I don't know why I did this. It makes no sense at all. I decided to tune it down a half step, which is already a big guitar. Tuned it down a half step, and then I capoed forward to do what I wanted to do. It had nothing to do with my singing range. It was just some weird experiment. I must have been bored. So that's it. 75D35 with the blue Martin Steal Me case, the original case. Which lovely plush blue carpet inside.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's my quarantine, buddy.
I don't even know if it's worth showing that.
I think you should, because you were playing and it sounded way better than you thought on the little microphone there.
Well, it's not something I would want to play live on anything.
Sure. Well, I just called you out, so I think you do.
But my quarantine guitar, the one I've been spending a lot. So I took this upstairs. It's been sitting in the front room. Boy, that back looks nice.
It does, right?
Is a 1973, probably 73 Dobro. Now let's see if you can see why I wouldn't want to play it anywhere. Can you see it? Yeah. I mean, the action on it.
There you go. Give it a little flavor.
So, and I've talked to people. Like, I tried to talk to Chris about getting it set up a little bit. I talked to
our friend at Beard Guitars, right?
Right. We have a friend that plays with us that actually works at Beard Guitars. And if you haven't seen Beard Guitars, just go type in Beard Guitars and check them out. They're the second largest guitar manufacturer in Maryland, I do believe.
I think we know what number one is.
Yeah. And they're making some cool stuff. They're making some cool electrics and stuff now, but what they're really known for is their resonators. So he's David, I think, yeah, Spider Bridge. I mean, for slide, I mean, that's about all it can do, but it's not. I'd like to start getting in and learning some more slide stuff in those like open tunings like the old Delta guys and stuff used to do. But you do need to be able to fret some to do that too. And it's at a point where if you try to fret up too high, you're bending it out of tune and it just doesn't. But I mean, it has a nice sound to it. And I shouldn't do it at all because I have it tuned to open D, which is not. I used to play it a lot in open G. You know, I can take it a little bit better there. But, and there's a rattle in there somewhere too.
You stay in the first like 2 frets, you might be okay.
Right. Yeah, you can get a little bit of chord kind of stuff there. But so that's the 1973 Dobro.
It does sound great, and I have a lot of respect for Jason and my friend Brody, who's on the discussion here, that can play slide. I've never really taken the time. Again, the laziness factor. Apparently, I'm the laziest guitarist on the planet, but it sounds so great, right? And not everybody could do that. And so when you hear it, it's really cool, especially when you hear it live in the same room as somebody playing it. It's really great. It just kind of like strikes a whole nother chord of like emoting and emotion. That's why I think we all love Derek Trucks so much, right? It's just like somebody's singing. But
yeah, and it's one of those things. Like I knew enough. We would do like 2 or 3 open E tunes a night, or maybe like 2 open E's and maybe an open G tune there for a while, or 1 or 2 open G tunes. So besides having to carry an open G and open E guitar for like 4 tunes, but I knew enough to do those songs and fake my way through a solo. But we couldn't do like 2 open E's back to back because I would have to play the same solo twice in 2 different songs. So
look what I can do. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, right. So
you have to wait for like the 3rd set when people had a few drinks and maybe they forgot the first set.
Yeah, I mean, we wrote that's funny because we wrote this open E tune, and so the solo in that was based around. It didn't matter. It was different than like doing like an Elmore James kind of 1-4-5 Elmore James tune,
right?
With that kind of thing. So we could do those 2 back to back, and I played it note for note what was on the CD simply because it's all I could play. But
yeah, thanks for sharing that and playing that. I mean, it sounded probably a lot better than you thought coming through those microphones. So that's good.
I doubt it.
Well, better than you thought. It didn't sound like you were at the bottom of a swimming pool, and it wasn't like crazy modulating and all of that. So
I keep working on that one too, and I just can't get that bass, and I can't get that together yet.
Right.
So, what's everybody? Nobody else popped in here. What's everybody else? Anybody else spending time with a particular guitar?
Yeah. Did we officially ask the question of who's your quarantine buddy?
Yeah.
I think did somebody say? I don't know. Maybe that was not today. Some people, I think that was a different thing I posted somewhere else, that people were sort of like, if they play somewhere like in a church or something, some people are kind of separated from their gear right now. That would be horrible. I know what that feels like because I don't have anything in Georgia. Next time I go down to Georgia to visit my wife and I drive, I'm taking something with me. Because either that or just buy something off Craigslist down there.
I forgot your Martin was a 3-piece back. Isn't that?
Yeah, both of mine are D35s.
That Ibanez that I keep in my classroom that I brought home, I think that's a 3-piece back too. Do you remember seeing that before? It's like
I'm trying to. I think so. I just love the warmth and the big sound of a 3-piece back. It makes this dreadnought more jumbo-esque.
It's Let me step away for 1 second.
Yeah, the other one, and I'll have to. The other one, it needs some love, but it's a 72 D35 with a natural top. But the cool thing is, it has more of the D45 appointments where it's like the CF and it says Martin down the headstock. Sounds good, makes you work a little bit, but I really got to. It's not in the best place. I think some of the binding is starting to crack. It's not in a very climate controlled place. It is in a case, but Both of these guitars need a lot of love, but
I love this guitar. So this guitar has an interesting story behind it. I mean, it's not, sometimes you just kind of inherit guitars or whatever, and I'm not going to tell the story per se, but this is like the classroom guitar. It has cracks and, I mean, it's beat up. It is a Ibanez Vintage. So it's actually named Vintage. So it was like vintage the day it was made.
yeah, they weren't messing around. Mm-hmm.
And then that's the only reason I went and grabbed it is because.
Oh yeah, I see that. Maybe I don't remember that having a 3-piece back. It's nice.
I just pulled it out of the case, so it's
perfect.
But anyway, that's it's been knocked over by kids. Knocked over on the linoleum or the tiled floor. It's been beat up. I let the students use it if they want to pick it up and play it, and yeah, it's been.
Yeah, kind of getting caught up in a couple of things. Brody's like, yeah, going back to the previous conversation, play one of the hooks in one of those worship songs with a slide, and the whole congregation will be like, what's he doing? And then, we saw a little bit with David Barber. He jumped in our conversation the other day. He is quarantined with his instruments and showed us several of his PRSs in that conversation.
That was Friday. So if you go back to conversation number 20, no, 19, that was. So Friday, number 18.
Yeah, the internet didn't always cooperate, but you could hear some playing, see the guitars, and get the ruminations of one David Barber.
It's like I'm home, music room, and a dozen guitars. The feeling. That's
all right. Hold that thought. 1 second.
Where's he going? He left us. Yeah, Dave, you popped out some sweet guitars the other day. Wondering how much else is floating around there. Yeah, so Pat's been holding out because I know that I have a feeling the one he's pulling out right now. I've never seen this one either. So
yeah,
he had that SG from that 60s SG over
65,
there.
Yeah,
never seen.
Now,
and this one he's talked about.
This one I hesitate to show because I would give the guy grief that did this. The good news is I changed the strings. The bad news is that whenever I did, speaking of laziness, it's like a spider. What made me think of this guitar is when you held up that Ibanez. This is the world's friggin' heaviest guitar. It is an Ibanez PF400. It is right around that lawsuit era of
your spider.
Yeah, that's disgusting. I mean, I wasn't even going to show it today. I was going to trim that off and clean it up. I mean, it is so heavy. It is ridiculously heavy. But here's the thing about this. That same Episcopalian priest I was talking about, he was moving from Virginia, where I was, to somewhere else and sold some of his guitars. So I was able to get this one. During that, my friend beat me to the other one. You can see he has excellent taste and finishes on guitars, and I have once been quoted in saying I think every guitar should be sunburst. So this is that Ibanez PF400. It is like, the mahogany slab, I'm sure. It is so heavy I can literally barely hold it up. I played this with Brody in a rehearsal one time, and the strap gave way and clanked down onto the garage floor we were playing on. And the thing that concerns me the most that I've never had fully investigated is, I don't know if you can see that. I'm hoping it's a lacquer mark and not the neck being cracked. I probably can't see it, but I can feel it.
How long has it been there?
Oh, it's been there for 15 years.
Well, I would imagine it's not your neck.
Did I mention it was heavy? So I don't remember what the original pickups were, but I kind of feel like maybe I had a PRS and maybe I didn't at that point. But these are PRS Dragons in here with some kind of coil tap little toggle switch, like right here. Standard Les Paul setup. And then we went down kind of a trail I know, Pete. I know. Exactly. I almost didn't take it out of the case because I would be on the other side of this keyboard telling the schlep to just take some wire cutters, or for the love of our Lord, just at least put them in that lovely circle that you can do when you're too lazy to trim your strings. Make that lovely. Gee, I couldn't find the wire cutters, but I didn't want to embarrass myself, and at least do that, right? Like at least.
No, it's just.
I love the look of this guitar. It's fantastic. The inlay. Some of the Ibanez Les Paul copies, if you will, were bolt-on necks. This is not a bolt-on neck because I think if it was, it probably wouldn't have a neck on it from that drop it took. I mean, it is ridiculously heavy. I should get the scale out, but it's it's got some love. It goes back to David Barber's previous comment. Once this happens, you can just play it and not think about it. But Grover tuners. So
How to do half a job.
I'm telling you,
time to do his hair, but not to cut the strings.
I think the theme of this particular show is PJ is the laziest person on the planet. That would be the theme for today. Malaise Mondays, maybe we'll call it. I don't know. I did love this guitar. I played a lot. What's really funny? I've only ever owned one Les Paul, and Brody and I kind of co-owned it, and then Brody totally owned it. I have this and the PRS single cut that Jason's house at Hill the other day. I don't own a proper Les Paul, if you will. At some point,
that bridge on it that that 70s. What was it? 79 Gary?
Yeah, the V Les Paul, right? Gary's, right? That you had, and then when you looked at, that's why I knew exactly what it was when I saw it. And this is the same vintage. I think this is a 79. So around that time, they were really copying Gibson and put that on there. But as anyone will tell you, and David probably can attest to it, that the Japanese were building really good guitars in the 70s and maybe even into the 80s. And I'm not just saying that because I have one here. I'm telling you that because this, and I have a Yamaha SA2000 that's like a 335. That is also pretty spectacular. But anyway,
all right, I have seen that one.
Yes, you have played that one. I think maybe So yeah, that's right. So speaking of took the time to do my hair, I cut my own hair, and if I want my old hair back, I just have to go like this. It's right there on the logo. There we go. There's my old hair, and there's my haircut. Old hair, haircut.
So, music therapy Lazarus jumped in. Hey man, what's up? Barber said earlier before everybody turned to like ripping you apart for not trimming your strings. Do you need? I mean, I have a string clipper here. Do I need to drive by your house and throw it at you?
Yeah, put it in a bag of bricks like you did last time and throw it at me like you did when you sent these pics over.
So, but he said they took where was it? You rehabbed the Telly today with a hot bridge and a 59 Duncan humbucker in the neck. Oh man, that sounds good. That hot rodded Telly that we were talking about the other day, Dave has one of those too. I bought that because I really wanted a Telly with a humbucker in the neck, and then that guitar just kind of, I know it's a mini bucker, it's not a humbucker, but it kind of fell. Stars lined up right, and it kind of felt good. But ever since Friday, I've been on the rabbit hole. I've been looking at pickups online. I've been browsing pickups on Reverb to try and find a set of pickups to put in that black Mexican Telly I was showing you. Mm-hmm. So Dave has me down the rabbit hole, and I keep. Brian Landreth says the Twisted Telly Fender pickups. That the neck pickup sounds really good, almost Strat-like. I know David said the other day that the Texas Specials were good. And then, I go to like Lenny Fralon's website, and he has a set of Telly pickups that are a little bit maybe more overwound. They're like a blues. He calls them his blues Telly pickups or whatever. So
yeah, they talk about a rabbit trail.
I'm not sure.
The pickup world is a rabbit trail these days. It's about as crowded as the pedal world at this point.
Right, and then Shepton, I mean, you keep going up in price, right? So from the Texas specials, the Tellies, you go up in price. Then the Franlins, you go up in price. Everybody's been talking about those Shepton pickup. I looked at them, you go up in price. David said the mini humbucker. Yeah, I didn't like the mini humbucker at first, but it's really starting to grow on me now. So I don't know. That guitar has really grown on me. I was using it a lot until the quarantine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed, and I hesitate to do this because all it's going to point out again is the horrible lack of string cutting, but I'm pretty sure your nut is not supposed to have a nick out of it like that right there. Whoop, there. Where is there? There. So
Probably not.
yeah, so I'll trim the strings, tune it up, and give you a report. Definitely a playing sitting down guitar. I'm going to weigh this bad boy too because it's ridiculous.
So David said he likes the twisted, but it's more like I guess I don't know what I want out of the Telly because part of me is like, well, why would I want my Telly neck to sound like a Strat? You know,
I have Texas specials on a Strat of mine. I like them. Yeah, the guitar does need a new nut. And David, I don't disagree with you. Like, if you have a PRS, why do you need a proper Les Paul? It's almost like I feel like, and I'm not a collector. We discussed before. I'm not a collector. I'm just not a seller. So, I just kind of feel like it's something you should have. It's almost in the Constitution.
Wow. Who was it that said that? Ben said, don't look at the Ron Ellis pickups are $1,200 a set. What? How can a pickup be $1,200 a set?
Does it move your hand along the neck?
It just plays it for you. And so Ben was talking about changing his name all the time the other day too, and I finally figured out. I have it all together now, Ben. I saw you in the chat the other night, or whatever. Went to your channel. I know I've seen you in other people's chats and stuff. So I've seen your channel before. It just all kind of came together with the name changes. So felt better about that. Yeah, buy more. I think that was buy more guitars.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm starting to feel like the pickups in that Mexican Telly have never been really good, and maybe I just don't even know what I want because now that I have that hot rodded Telly with a Seymour Duncan, and I really like that guitar, and I'm like, well, maybe I wasn't digging the Telly before because just the pickups were that bad. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I'm just bored while quarantined and want to order a set of pickups and put them on a guitar.
Yeah, so to David's point, Jason is more adventurous than I as far as doing any kind of work / modification / trying something. As I mentioned before, as we continue to interview pedal builders and other people, my aversion to failure has kept me from doing a lot of things in my life. I'm like, why would I want to do it? Because most of the time I would do something and then it wouldn't be exactly right, or I'd have to do it twice. And after a while, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to stick to relationship building. That's my thing. These hands were not made for work.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things. Well, and again, that Mexican Telly, I don't mind getting in there with a soldering iron if I burn the back of it. I know I did some work in the Les Paul when I put in the Thornbuckers, and I know there's a burn mark on the back of the Les Paul from the soldering iron. There we go. All right. Christian just jumped in.
David, I was looking around. I don't even have my little multi-tool thing within iShot. That's why my eyes were scanning around. I'm like, because if I could clip these things while this broadcast is going, I might get some of my credibility back. But
no.
I'd have to completely leave off camera, which wouldn't be the worst thing that ever happened to the show. But
well, lucky for you, it's been about 54 minutes, and it's time that we wind it up. But because otherwise, it's just going to be another however long of people Busting your chops. That would make a great screenshot. You holding that up with the wire stick everywhere.
Yeah.
That would be the screen capture of the day.
I can hold it up right next to my hair from the logo, and it look pretty much the same. Of course, if you look at the logo and you look at Jason's beard, quarantine, has been rough on the manscaping. Jason's beard. Jason and I have one rule. Jason, you have your beard get as long as you want to until it starts covering up the logos on the T-shirts, and then you got to trim it. So he's starting to block some advertising on his shirts now.
I took the dog for a walk today. It's like a wind tunnel here too.
Looked like a guy on a Harley with a beard, like he had a neck beard all of a sudden. Scarf.
Yeah, always practice electronics works on parts first, not a guitar. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I had been doing a couple, and I had built a bunch of cables, and I was feeling pretty confident. And I got in the Les Paul. Somebody actually changed the pickups for me, but there was like one little thing that I didn't think was right that needed change, and I was just like, "Well, I can do that." And yeah, well, of course, there's a little burn mark somewhere on the back, and it's not bad. You can't. It's not going to devalue what that guitar is any. Or it shouldn't. Ron Ellis said pickups are so expensive because he still works a day job as an engineer on the National Fusion Energy Program at General Atomics. Huh?
I'm looking at that title in the day job. Probably makes enough money there he could give away pickups.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's a pretty lofty thing. Yeah.
That's like the King of Tone selling for $600 or $700,
Right.
on Reverb or I don't know.
I'm still not on the waiting list, and I kind of feel like I should be. It's almost like the Les Paul thing. I kind of feel like I need to have a King of Tone.
I mean, there's no doubt it's a great pedal. I mean, like,
David, I guess. Well, we'll ask Ron to come on the show. I'm never the smartest guy in the room, so that's fine.
Oh wait, can we get him on the show? No.
Yeah, that's right. We got some open slots this week. We have one big iron in the fire that it's a yes, but it's not a particular day at this point.
Which means we don't talk about it, but
Right, I'm not mentioning a name. I'm just saying
yeah.
that we were looking. I mean, we've been pretty fortunate. It's kind of a weird time, right? Some people have more time on their hands than they know what to do with. Other people are putting out fires and trying to move their business to a remote location. So it's kind of been a blend of that, right? So I thought last week was an especially good week, and Jason and I texting each other back and forth, sending rabbit emojis to each other, being like, "I don't think I can pull a rabbit out of the hat today, so you got the two of us." But so anyway,
I mean, there's the last 2 weeks really kind of worked out, and it was funny because last week at the beginning of the week, I don't think we had most of the people lined up, and then all of a sudden things happened.
Right.
And there's we have Thursday taken this week, and there's 2 or 3 we're not sure about yet.
Yeah.
There's one guy I would love to get on the show. I sent an email to, haven't heard anything back. Don't think I'm going to hear anything back because I think he's really busy. But I'll tell you who that is.
Can I say it? Because I think I could be wrong.
No, well, you'll say the wrong guy.
Okay, darn.
Or were you going to say this?
I wasn't going to. Oh well, yeah. No, I wasn't going to say that, but
yeah, I would love to get him on the show because I think what they're doing is awesome. We've been both using these for years. Great company. Love to get them on. So,
Guitar Hack jumping in. What's up, Hack? David Barber is on as well. So just another programming note for our friends channel. This Thursday night, 8 p.m., Hack is going to have David Barber on from Barber Electronics.
Right.
And we're going to tune into there and ask all the questions that we wouldn't ask on our channel because they were too controversial.
I was going to tune in Thursday night on Hack Show to see David Barber and try and get a little bit of revenge for the the string comments.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So yeah, I would love to have Kurt Magnan on the show. I think their company's doing awesome things. They make awesome strings. They are trimmable, so if you put them on your guitar, you are able to trim the top of them.
Unlike these D'Addario titanium strings I put on here that are impervious to any
Right,
type
they're
of.
impervious to trimming. These you can.
I left my TIG welder at my current employer.
All right,
Okay, so
this
is that good?
has gone on too long.
Is it better if I move them around? There we go. Look at that. See, look, it's very similar.
You know what I love about YouTube is you can get on a live stream and talk for an hour about. This is like we have the same screenwriters that Seinfeld had.
Yes, show about nothing. But it's not written by Larry David, unfortunately.
That'd be much funnier. All right. Well, I think that's about it. So, stay tuned for the rest of the week. I can tell you right now that we have Sebastian Flavo coming on Thursday. I think he'll be really interesting to talk to. Just go watch some of his demos. His playing is incredible.
Yeah.
Every time we see a pedal and he plays it, it seems like it ends up on our show. I don't know. His playing is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Real low tech kind of demos. And so when you have a low tech demo and the playing is that good, that speaks volumes. Graduated from Berkeley not too long ago. He's teaching lessons. He lives in Nashville. He plays in some bands. He does some touching work. That's Thursday. And some irons in the fire for the other days. And as soon as we know what they are, we'll post them up so people can see.
Yep.
Matt.
All right. With that, thanks everybody for joining in, jumping on. We want to kind of keep this going, even though we were a little light on topics today. We did our best, and I'll try to find something every day you can make fun of me for. Probably not a stretch. So with that, I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding you, no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear.
All right. Thanks for everybody for joining in. We'll see you tomorrow.
Only guitar like this in my whole house.